Justice, and the headline is simply Relocation of Judges. And if I may just read, he said,
well, it's a rejoinder. It's instructive to note.
Yeah, rejoinder too. So he says, I write to apologize to all judges affected by the relocation of bungalows exercise for the administration. I can say this one. For the administration's inability to provide you with a timely written notification to relocate temporarily. Relocate from the temporary present accommodation. And he says, on the 5th of April 2018...
Wait, Malik, it's to relocate from your present accommodation.
What did I say?
From your temporary present accommodation.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not very clear, that part, yeah.
He said, on the 5th of April 2015, a delegation from the Office of the President informed me of the government's decision or government's intention to utilize the entire area of land between the State House and the Ridge Roundabout for the construction of the proposed National Cathedral project. The delegation, which was led by Reverend Asante Enchu, chairman, has included Most Reverend Bishop Justice Ofe Akrofi, the former Anglican Archbishop of Accra, the Honorable Peter Amewu, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, and Dr. Paul Opoku-Mensah. As proposed, the National Cathedral project will result in the demolition of all buildings within the project catchment area, from the Ridge Circle to the Scholarship Secretariat, including bungalows occupied by our judges and the Judicial Training Institute at East Ridge. In lieu of this, the government has committed to construct 21 new bungalows on Second Circular Road, that's cantonments, to replace the ones affected by the project construction of the new... to replace the ones affected by the project. Construction of the new bungalows is expected to be completed and handed over to the service by January 2020. Meanwhile, government has provided temporary residential buildings for all judges affected by the period the new bungalows would be under construction. These bungalows have been allocated to enable all judges affected to temporarily relocate from the present accommodation. Second but last paragraph, the Honorable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, by a letter dated 24th July 2018, formally confirmed the verbal representation made at the 5th April 2018 meeting. That is, the relocation of the judges affected by the National Cathedral project and the construction of the 21 new bungalows, as well as land for the Judicial Training Institute.
Malik, let's put a pin on it now and go on the phone lines immediately and speak with John Peter Amewu, the now former Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, I must say. And he was Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. As you heard, he played a key role in the selection of this site. Mr. Amewu, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you and good morning to your listeners. Bye.
Good morning. In the first place, so tell us, what was the level of engagement that went on with the Judicial Service to take this particular land?
Well, thank you. I think this was one of the most transparent, processes that we've ever handled. Right as you read out the letters from the Chief Justice, we've had a number of meetings, at that strategic level. I quite remember I attended 2 of the meetings myself. And then we clear and define the roadmap that will make, way for the judges to evacuate their existing premises. In fact, we have identified a number of buildings that will need to be demolished. First of all, what you have to note is that the Ministry of Lands, of course, mandated in terms of reference to make land available for development partners. Government, as an entity or government, as you all know, under His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, have a foresight of having this edifice built for Ghana. But it is not government that is using its own money, to make the building come true. What government is doing is to make land available. I mean, as a ministry, we've done that for private entities. We do it for Christian institutions, across the country. This is not the first time we try to make land institutions. What happened in this case is that because of those existing bungalows, there will be a need for demolition. And so what we did, therefore, was to identify, well-built residential facilities of topmost quality. We've invited the judges, together with people from lands and natural resources, and in each and every building that was made available for them to satisfy. In fact, in one of the visits, of course, which I was there myself, one of the family was said, Daddy, this is very beautiful. Why are we still wasting time? We need to move in quickly. So the selection of the new residential buildings, there were even more placed in the better places in terms of construction than where some of those existing judges.
Right.
Never had a complaint from any of those judges that were going to be relocated. What the ministry has done was that we have even made land available for a training school, a 10-acre land available for training school on top of what we're giving them. We are also constructing an additional 21, state-of-the-art residential accommodations for the judges in the long term. In the short term, we're just renting for about 1.5 years. Time this construction is completed, they will therefore move into this new location. And again, the new location is on their premises, on their land, and is also strategically located. So, to have read, especially on the last program on Joy FM, when one of your hosts, Sami or so, made that comment. In fact, I was very much disappointed because maybe he hasn't got the details of the genesis. And so this is exactly what happened, and this is the role the ministry has played, in making sure that the vision of His Excellency comes to
Mr. Mayu, what went into the selection of that particular site for the National Cathedral?
The selection was, there was a committee, the Cathedral Committee, which was chaired by Reverend Asante Entry. He, of course, as a ministry, they would have to come and tell us that this place, just as any individual, just as any organization, we want to decide on land allocation that we want land here. The ministry responsibility is to make sure the land is made available. So the committee chairperson, Reverend, they have selected that site, and so when the letter came to us that they requested land to be made available, of course, looking within the area, that is also one of the areas that we think for the purpose of this particular infrastructure, it will fit. And that is why we begin to make that land available for the committee.
So the committee selected this particular place knowing that the judges' residence and a number of other government facilities were there?
The committee never knew there were judges available there. They pointed at that area. It is our responsibility to make sure if we can make the land available, irrespective of what infrastructure was there. We think that as a ministry, we have done institutions, so we can make it. And so whether there are facilities there or not, since we can do it, and that is the basis we've taken that decision. If we realize that it was not going to be possible, we would have gone back to the committee and tell them that, okay, your site that you selected is not going to be possible. We realized it can be done, and this was done in a very transparent manner, and that is why we tried to do the relocation.
So it's being done is the relocation of the people there, the construction of the new facilities for the judges, and the interim renting of residential facilities for the judges.
Come again.
I just want to be clear that when you say that it is possible this is going to be done, you mean relocation of the facility, the persons and the facilities there, construction of new facilities, and interim rent being paid for these persons?
Precisely, that is what I'm talking about. Because don't forget, there will be some externality. So if you are going to undertake this facility, undertake this project. And so having examined the externality, you realize it's possible. And that is why I'm saying, yes, having examined the cost implications, we knew as a ministry that that is possible. And that is why we undertook the exercise.
So what are these cost implications? How much is this going to cost us?
The cost implication is the relocation cost, construction of new buildings, and even making 10-acre land available for the training school. All these are cost implications.
And how much is that?
Come again.
Sorry, sir, go ahead.
Yes, and also the strategic locations of the new structures. All these things were taken into consideration.
Okay.
Because the judges, they are very important to our society. and we need not expose them and place them in areas that may not be as suitable. And so when we put in a new structure, we did have to even examine it, go into discussion with the estate management department and find out whether this will be suitable. All these things were taken into consideration. This exercise was started quite about a year now, and so a lot of consultations were made.
And how much is this going to cost in total?
The relocations, of course, the contractor submitted the deal of relocation, and I think it's I'm not quite clear. I think I'll have to look at it. But the bill for the demolition was submitted. The renting per bungalow per month, I think, is in the range of about $3,000 or $2,500 or so dollars, per month. These are very high class buildings at very prime areas. So you multiply by the number of buildings that we have, rented out, and that is going to be for the period under which. So those are some of the cost items we undertook here.
How many units are we renting?
Currently, we are renting. We are relocating 9 from that area, but we are all of them because the judicial service has also made requests for an additional, bungalows, which of course we are renting for them. Yeah.
That number didn't come out clearly. You said we are relocating 9, but we are renting how many?
Yeah, there's that area where this structure is going to take place. I think there are about 9 of those structures that are going.
Yes, but how many are we renting?
In all, we are renting about 12. Yeah.
12, okay.
Yeah.
So that's...
Because where we're going to put the existing buildings, they are new structures. Where we're going to put the new structures for them, there are additional buildings there that those people staying there. Currently, there's nobody staying in those buildings, just opposite the cantonment police station. There are some dilapidated buildings there that we need to pull down. And so we take into consideration that should they envisage anybody coming to stay in those bungalows. So we've added them up to the new, rental that we're doing. Yeah.
What's the value of the land that we are using for the cathedral project?
I would have to get an estimate from the land evaluation department.
Great. So for this, for the rent alone, from the calculation, from the rudimentary figures you gave me, I used $3,000 per person. So that's for 12 units. That's $36,000 per month times 18 months. That's 1.5 years. So that's $648,000. Who covers this cost, Mr. Amewu?
Hello?
Yes, I'm saying that who covers the costs of relocation and rent and these cost implications you mentioned?
Well, there's a financial arrangement that we have undertaken, and I think when that is able to tell you exactly. But I know some individuals, are very instrumental in making sure that this comes to reality.
Is government paying for this?
Government efforts, of course, will be, the salaries that they are paying the workers to make sure that this thing is undertaken. The government on its own is putting a CD into this. But of course, the efforts of the civil servant, the efforts of the minister and all this is to make sure these things are done, which of course can be read as cost. I think that's government effort.
So when you say government is not putting a CD in, does that include the rent for the judges over the 1.5 years?
Precisely. I mean, the ministry was not giving any budget to rent for the judges. So there's a financial arrangement that was done with some private, individuals that are interested in giving this term. So government itself has not given out money for this rent to be conducted at all in any way. So
what's this financial arrangement that has been made?
I think I should be able to give you the details when it's finally concluded. Yeah.
What sort of arrangement is it? Is it a donation? Is it an investment? Is it a loan? What exactly is it?
A lot of people are much interested in this edifice for this country, for everybody, irrespective of your belief or your religion, everybody at all. So those interested people I know are behind, and they are prepared to help. Joy FM also calling on you. I mean, you can make donations genuinely towards this cause for this country and for the Christian and also the Muslim, all Ghanaians, to achieve the aim and objective of His Excellency the President.
So there are those who are saying, Mr. Amewu, that we could have found land somewhere else to build the cathedral, so that we don't have to demolish this particular block of flats and all this property.
Please, we are looking at the strategic nature of this building. We don't just want to do things done, anyway. We want to build in a strategic place and something that will befit this country. And we can just decide to go and put it in my hometown if we told you. We can do that. But I don't think that was this agenda. So, and that is why we're looking for a very prime area that will befit the status of the kind of building that the committee envisaged. And otherwise, we can put it anywhere.
Right. But Mr. Amewu, the question that has come up since this issue came up is the issue of cost. So that if we are going to do it here, we would have to do a demolition, we would have to construct new structures, we would have to pay rent in the interim. But then on the other hand, if we found a land that was not in use, then there will be no question of relocation, there will be no question of demolition. We can just go ahead and do the construction.
Demolition should not be seen as something that would trigger cost element. Demolition should rather be seen, as an index of development. Those structures, pulling down, most of them are outdated. They are dilapidated, especially when you come to the area that we're going to put a new building. The old one they have placed here, what we're going to construct for them by demolishing these new ones is far better than what is here. As a developing country, any country that, have an agenda of developing, there's always an element of demolition. We need to pull down some structures and move, in accordance with the era of development. So don't read the demolition just as an exercise, of course. There's also a benefit to that.
But before you come to even the issue of whether or not buildings can be outdated, because that is a very debatable issue, the mere case of how much it will cost us to do the demolition is a question enough.
The cost of the demolition?
Yes, the cost. Some would say that money would be better saved somewhere else.
The point I'm raising is that don't only take the cost element. You must also take the significance or the importance of the project. Every project has a cost element. If you want to take the cost into consideration, of course, you're not going to necessarily undertake the project. But you look at the long-term returns, over the period. What are you going to gain from this exercise? What are the benefits of the new exercise that you're going to take? If you work it out, you might not necessarily have to consider the cost. Of course, if we know the cost is going to be extensively huge and it's not going to yield any benefit in the future, of course, this exercise will not be undertaken. So a lot of, reconciliation exercises were done, and we realized that it's proper that this vision of His Excellency, comes to pass.
In the spirit of obtaining value for money, yes, projects can be important. But in the spirit of obtaining value for money, is it not prudent to do a project at the least possible costs that we could have? If there was a way that we could avoid certain costs like demolition buildings, should that not be considered?
Of course, I think those were considered. We've taken those into consideration. The building, for instance, that we're going to put up, the 21 new buildings that we're going to put up for the judges, the cost far outweighs the cost, and then the siting, of course, again, far away what existence are. Where they were living in is dilapidated, just opposite the cantonment post office. Look at those buildings. Nobody can even stay in them. They were built, I think, in a pre-independent state. And we're putting out these buildings and putting out new ones. And so the cost element of the demolition can be considered as one. But I'm saying that the benefit as a result of coming out of these new constructions, it's in the right direction. And I can tell you for sure that the discussion I have with the estate department, of the judicial service, they were all excited about this new project.
So what's the cost of building these new buildings, and who is paying for them?
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Amewu, we want to know the costs of the new structures being put up for the judiciary.
I don't have the record here right in my hand. I don't. If I knew you were going to speak to me on this issue, I would have found the details on it.
But who pays for them?
I told you that it's a financial arrangement that we put in. Judicial service itself It's also assisting to construct buildings for their own staff. We have given acre land, which I've given you. I've told you already. Those buildings by the Judicial Service, where they need to pull them down and build new ones, with the developer. There's an arrangement between the Judicial Service and then the developer to build those buildings.
Which arrangement is that? Is it a loan?
I don't think it's a loan.
You don't think it's a loan? Are you able to say whether it's a loan or it's not?
It's not a loan for sure. But I told you it's a strong financial arrangement. Please, you may call me, maybe later time to if you want the details of this. You can always come to me. I can provide the details to you.
We'll take you up on that. Thank you very much, Mr. Amewu, for joining us.
Thank you.
John Peter Amewu was Minister for Lands and Natural Resources. Malik, your questions were answered in that interview?
Not quite, Daniel. Regrettably, some of the fundamental questions Mr. Amewu is unable to give us specific answers on. If you're taking a project of this magnitude, you should have all your calculations done. We should know exactly what the costs are. If you're relocating all of these judges, the Passport Office, the Judicial Training Institute, all of these institutions, the cost must be clear. Now, he says that there are financial arrangements that will take care of all of these costs. What are those financial arrangements? We do not know, and he's unable to tell. You're going to construct 21 new buildings for the Judicial Service. You're going to need a 10-acre land for the Judicial Training Institute. You will need similar land for the Passport Office. You need to do same for all of those other institutions in this area. What is the cost? We don't know. Again, you asked a fundamental question. What is the value of the land in this area? He says the land has not been valued. Now, if you say that government is not putting money into this project, and yet government is giving out prime resource land for this project, is it not only fair that we know the value of the land so that we can determine what contribution the state is making?
In fairness to him, he has invited us to come to his office at a later date to get those figures. I will take him up on that
all
invitation.
Of these we should know.
Exactly.
Because I used to go to GIJ and I used to walk through that land every day to go to GIJ. I know the land that Jake bought. That land was bought almost 10 years ago.
You mean Jacob Echewilam?
Yes, the late. That small piece of land cost $400,000 at that time, 10 years ago. Today, that small land, if you go and value it, it should be around $1 million. If that small land costs $1 million, now imagine the vast land that is being used or being proposed to be used for this project. And yet we do not know what the value is, and the authorities aren't telling us what the value is. In fact, they have not even valued it.
Right. So still more questions to be answered. We would have to schedule another time with Mr. Peter, John Peter Amewu, to get the clarity on the issues that he was not able to give us answers to at the moment. But you're still listening to the Super Morning Show on Joy 99.7 FM. I am Daniel Daze. We have been joined in the studio by our guest for this morning, Dr. Daniel Sedo. Good morning, Dr. Sedo.
Good morning.
Hope all is well.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Dr. Sedo, we'll be talking to Dr. Sedo about the developments in the banking sector over the past month. We'll be focused mainly on the way forward. Where do we go from here? The latest we've heard this morning is that about 700 workers are losing their jobs. Is that in the right direction? Is there anything we can do to save some of the workers? Is the regulator doing enough? What can we do to ensure that we don't lose our money in the future? We'll be speaking to Dr. Sedo on this and many other issues after this. Stay with us.
It's a new day. I want you to